You're listening to I've Been Cooking, where chefs and food lovers take apart delicious dishes and piece by piece tell the story of how they're made. I'm Andrea, and I hope you enjoyed today's show.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Deep Dive. I'm Mark, and you know how it is right now. It's that time of year after Thanksgiving before Christmas, where everywhere you go, it just smells amazing.
Yeah, all those kitchens just pumping out holiday baking.
Exactly. And today we're diving into one of my favorites, Classic American Gingerbread Cookies. And you can find this recipe on our website, iveben.cooking.
That's IVEBEEN.cooking.
Right. And we also have apps for iOS and Android on both Google Play and the Apple App Store. But before you run off and start baking, we're going to do a deep dive into the history behind these iconic cookies and look at some key ingredients and techniques.
Yeah, I think it's really cool how something so simple can have such a rich history and tradition.
Right. So where do we even begin?
Well, let's go way back to 10th century Europe.
Wow.
Yeah, think about this recipe that's now a staple in so many American kitchens was brought back to Europe from the Middle East by an Armenian monk.
That's amazing. I had no idea gingerbread went back that far.
It makes you think about how far food travels and how much it influences cultures all over the world.
Yeah, and speaking of influence, the gingerbread we know and love today got its American twist when European settlers started adding molasses.
Oh, molasses.
Yeah, it's that molasses that really gives it that rich, deep flavor and that color that we associate with the holidays.
And that warmth, that's just perfect for this time of year. You know, I've had gingerbread cookies that were like rock hard.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not a fan of that.
No, not at all. Speaking of perfect, we're going to be talking about a classic recipe, the kind that gets passed down through generations. And a key ingredient for getting that soft texture is brown sugar.
Okay, so we've got molasses for the deep flavor and brown sugar for the melt-in-your-mouth texture. What else should people keep in mind?
Well, you know that step about chilling the dough?
Yeah.
It's not just about making the dough easier to handle chilling. It actually lets the gluten relax so the cookies don't spread too thin when they're in the oven.
Interesting. So it's less about convenience and more about the chemistry.
It's science. And of course, we can't forget those festive cookie cutters.
Yes, gingerbread men are classic, but there's so many other fun shapes.
Yeah, snowmen, reindeer stars, anything you can think of.
And don't forget about the decorating.
Oh, yeah.
That's a whole art form in itself, turning these simple cookies into edible works of art.
And it's a great activity that families can do together. You know, it teaches kids about measuring and following instructions.
And it's creative.
Yeah, you get that sense of accomplishment when you pull out that tray of perfectly baked and decorated cookies.
And the whole house smells amazing. Instant holiday cheer.
Totally. But you know, it's really interesting how gingerbread cookies have evolved beyond just those traditional shapes and decorations.
Oh, absolutely. Have you seen some of those gingerbread houses online? Some of them are crazy.
I know, right? People are building whole villages out of gingerbread.
It's amazing how gingerbread has become a medium for such elaborate artistry.
Yeah, I've seen some that look like architectural masterpieces.
It really shows how traditions can evolve, but still hold on to that core essence, you know, that blend of the familiar and the new that keeps traditions relevant and exciting.
Yeah, and they're just so delicious. That warm, spicy flavor is hard to resist, especially during the holidays.
It's a flavor that instantly brings back those feelings of warmth and comfort and celebration. But, you know, speaking of the holidays, why gingerbread, of all the cookies in the world, why has this one become so tied to this time of year?
That's a great question, and that's what we're going to explore in the next part of our deep dive, so stay tuned.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're picking up where we left off, exploring the amazing world of classic American gingerbread cookies and why they're so closely tied to the holidays.
You know, it's amazing to think how much cultural significance a simple cookie can have.
Right. They really have become part of so many holiday traditions.
Especially in America.
Yes, gingerbread houses, elaborate cookie displays, they've become like icons of the holiday season.
And it goes beyond just how they look.
It really does. Like, when was the first time you smelled gingerbread baking? What memory does that bring back?
Oh, man. For me, it's definitely like that feeling of warmth and anticipation.
Yes.
Like knowing that something magical is about to happen.
Like magic is in the air.
Exactly.
And baking together as a family.
Yeah.
You know, passing down traditions from one generation to the next.
It's such a great way to get everyone involved, especially kids. They love rolling out the dough,
Yeah.
decorating the cookies,
Yeah, it's such a fun activity for everyone.
and it teaches them all kinds of valuable skills, too,
Absolutely, like measuring and following instructions.
and getting creative.
Yes. And speaking of creativity, we were talking about those elaborate gingerbread creations earlier. Have you ever tried making a gingerbread house from scratch?
I have to admit, I've always used a kit.
Even those can be a challenge.
Oh, totally.
It's like edible architecture.
Yeah, you need so much patience.
A lot of precision.
And so much icing.
But it's so worth it.
Oh, yeah, when you finally get that roof on and add all the finishing touches.
That sense of accomplishment.
Definitely. And it's another example of how gingerbread cookies are such a perfect mix of tradition and innovation. You can stick with the classic designs or go crazy.
So true.
Hmm.
You know, as we're wrapping up this part of our deep dive, I think it's safe to say that classic American gingerbread cookies are more than just a holiday treat. They really represent cherished traditions and family and the simple joy of baking and sharing.
Like, we still haven't really figured out why gingerbread, of all the cookies, why this would.
That's a great point. We talked about those warm spices earlier, like ginger, cinnamon, cloves. Maybe that's part of it.
Yeah, those are all classic holiday flavors, right?
You're onto something there. We'll explore that connection in the last part of our deep dive.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We've been exploring the history and the recipe and everything about classic American gingerbread cookies.
And now it's time to answer that big question, why gingerbread? Why, out of all the cookies, is this one so tied to the holidays?
We were talking about those spices before, ginger and cinnamon and cloves. Maybe that's part of the answer.
Yeah, those spices have always been associated with the holidays. Think about mulled wine or spiced cider or pumpkin pie. They all use those same warm spices.
So it's like those smells and those flavors bring back all those warm holiday feelings.
Exactly. But there's more to it than that, too. Historically, spices like ginger were really valuable, almost like a luxury item.
Oh, interesting. So using them in baking would have been a way to show off a little bit.
Right. It was a way to celebrate something special. So gingerbread with all those spices would have been a treat that was reserved for special occasions like Christmas. So it's not just about the flavor, it's about the history.
So back then, spices were like gold. So baking with them would have been like showing off how wealthy you were.
Exactly. And it adds another reason why we connect gingerbread with the holidays, right? But it's not just about the spices.
Right.
We can't forget about how they look. Gingerbread cookies are just perfect for decorating all those shapes and colors and designs. They're just so joyful and celebratory.
And decorating them, whether you're just doing simple icing or something more elaborate, it's just fun and creative.
Wow.
It brings people together.
It really does. And it's another example of how gingerbread cookies can be both traditional and innovative. You can make those classic shapes or get really creative.
This is what I love about food. It's not just about eating. It's a whole story every time you bite into a gingerbread cookie.
Yeah.
It's like you're tasting history and culture and family tradition.
I love that. And so we've come to the end of our deep dive into classic American gingerbread cookies.
It's been so much fun exploring everything about this timeless treat.
We hope we've inspired you to bake some of your own classic American gingerbread cookies this holiday season.
And when you're enjoying that delicious smell and that amazing flavor, take a minute to think about all that history and all those traditions.
Because sometimes the simplest things have the deepest meaning. Happy baking, everyone.
Hi, it's Jamie, and if you enjoyed today's episode of I've Been Cooking, we'd love for you to share it. Leave us a review wherever you get your podcasts, and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a new recipe. Do you know someone who loves cooking as much as you do? Send this episode their way. And hey, let's stay connected. You can find us on Pinterest, Instagram, and Facebook at I've Been Cooking. Tag us to show off your creations and join a community of food lovers worldwide. And if you want to chat with us directly, we're always hanging out on Discord. You'll find the link to join in the footer of our website at ivebeen.cooking. Until next time.